I climbed out a window after one shift. So when I was 16, I was desperate for a job. My parents said I had to start paying for my own gas money if I wanted to keep driving, and flipping burgers seemed better than asking them for cash every week. This seafood place downtown was hiring dishwashers for minimum wage. The manager barely looked at me during the interview, just asked if I could work nights and weekends. I said yes, and he told me to start Friday. Big mistake. Friday night rolls around and I show up in my best t-shirt, ready to wash some dishes. The manager points me toward the kitchen and says there's normally 2 dishwashers on Friday nights, but the other guy called in sick. No big deal, right? How hard could washing dishes be? The dinner rush hit like a tsunami. Within an hour, dirty plates were stacked to the ceiling, glasses everywhere, silverware piled up like a metal mountain, and I'm just one kid with a spray hose trying to keep up. But the real problem wasn't the dishes, it was the kitchen staff. These guys were all seniors from my high school, kids I barely knew, but who definitely knew I was the desperate sophomore willing to work for scraps, and they thought my suffering was absolutely hilarious. Every time I'd start to make progress, they'd bring over more stuff. Not just plates and cups, but these massive pots that were taller than me, huge cast iron skillets that weighed like 50 pounds, industrial mixing bowls covered in fish, guts, and grease. They'd dump it all right in front of my station, making this wall of dirty cookware that I had to literally climb over just to put away the clean stuff. And they're all standing around watching me struggle, cracking jokes about the new kid, making bets about how long I'd last. One guy even took a video of me climbing over a stack of sheet pans just to reach the dishwasher. The worst part was when they started timing me. They'd be like, bet you can't get through that pile in 10 minutes, while adding more dirty stuff to it. By 9 o'clock, I was soaked in gross water, my back was killing me, and I still had hours left on my shift. The kitchen guys had finished their cleanup and were just hanging around making my life miserable for entertainment. That's when I realized something. These guys were having way too much fun at my expense, and they weren't going to stop because they thought I was trapped, but I wasn't trapped. I told them I needed to use the bathroom real quick. They barely looked up from their phones. I walked into the employee restroom and locked the door behind me. Then I took my gross, wet apron and shoved it as far down the toilet as it would go. I flushed it once. Nothing happened. Flushed it again. Still nothing, but now there was water starting to overflow onto the floor. Perfect. The bathroom had this tiny window that barely looked big enough for a cat to fit through, but I was pretty skinny back then, and I was motivated. I climbed up on the toilet, pushed the window open, and squeezed through like I was escaping from prison. Dropped down into the alley behind the restaurant, brushed myself off, and walked to my car. I could hear them inside calling my name, probably wondering why I'd been in the bathroom for 20 minutes. I drove home and never looked back. Monday morning, the manager called asking where I was. I told him I quit and hung up. Then he had the nerve to say they weren't going to pay me for my one shift because I damaged company property. That's when I called my uncle, who's a lawyer. He wrote them this very official letter demanding my paycheck and mentioning something about labor violations. They mailed me a check for $37 within a week. No apology, no explanation, just my money. That was the last time I ever worked in food service. Some jobs just aren't worth the money.